just got done. It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on beautiful St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. And a T-shirt, because I got one on right now. I go all the way there for the T-shirts, too. But anyway, today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of this book right now by visiting Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com. I'm going to talk about the post-fight shows, the big fights this weekend. Sergey Kovalev losing his title to Eldar Alvarez. Also on that card, Dmitry Bivol won a workmanlike decision over Isaac Chilemba. We'll talk about that. And then Devon Alexander, I thought, lost. I thought he won the fight. But according to the judges, he lost a close decision to Andre Berto. And some other fights. We also got some news to talk about, which specifically pertains to the potential and close to being signed, sealed, and delivered fight between WBC World Heavyweight Champion Deontay Wilder and former undisputed and linear heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, Sergey Kovalev, the guy that used to be the bully, the guy who once gets punched back in the face seems to be tame very quickly. Did show some talent against Alvarez, of course, and the age difference wasn't that great. But at the end, Alvarez was a better fighter. He looked bigger. He looked stronger. He stopped Sergey Kovalev at 2 minutes and 45 seconds of the seventh round. The win got Alvarez Kovalev's WBO title. So that means Kovalev, after his two losses against Andre Ward, followed him with two impressive wins over less than stellar opposition, comes back and fights the guy that Adonis Stevenson refuses to fight, and maybe we see why. Joining me right now to get his thoughts is Sal Rocky Cenicola. And Sal, what was your thoughts on the fight, Alvarez's performance? Come from behind according to the judges' scorecards, but Alvarez's performance to beat Sergey Kovalev.
Well, good morning, Bill. Yes, and I'll tell you what, I had the fight scored possibly, Alvarez just close. He was always in the fight, obviously. And I'll tell you what, though, the best Sergey Kovalev I've seen of late was the first Andre Ward fight. That's the Kovalev I thought, and who won that fight that night, I believed. But I haven't seen the Sergey Kovalev since that fight show up. You know, he came after he got beat and knocked out by Andre Ward. They gave him two easier opponents to build some confidence and to get some strategy or to get some momentum going. But I'll tell you what, he got cleanly and clearly derailed last night. My read on him, and I agreed also with Roy Jones Jr., Well, a lot of fighters could read other fighters, and when I saw the minute rest in between 1 and 2 round, Sergey had a look on his face like, "What am I doing here?" And it's just like, "Wow, what am I? What was I thinking?" It just didn't look like he was in the fight mentally to perform and be the elitist as we remember him. But to the credit of Alvarez, he was in the fight. I agree with you. He looked like a bigger fighter. He kept throwing that jab. I think he got Sergey Kovalev's attention early on with some power. Even though going into this fight, it wasn't looking like this guy was a power puncher. He hasn't had that many KOs in his victories. But, he sat down some punches. He caught him with some great right hands. And Kovalev just, I think he just got so derailed. He just lost any kind of steam or momentum or desire when he got caught with that big right hand.
Alvarez, in my opinion, was a more talented fighter than Kovalev, at least the version of Kovalev that we saw last night. But the thing that sticks in my mind the most is what made Kovalev successful through his run. And I'm not suggesting his career is over, but I'm just saying throughout his run, his rise to the top or whatever, he was a bully. And just like other bullies that got success, and most of them are my favorite fighters of all time. Mike Tyson, Jack Dempsey, both bully, Roberto Duran, another bully. Sonny Liston, another bully. I mean, these guys, when they would win, their reputation was a couple of points towards a victory before the bell sounded against the opponents. But once that fear factor, that bully was challenged, that bully on the schoolyard punched in the face and backs down, they become ordinary. And then once an opponent feels that, this guy can be beaten, that aurora, that bully, that invincibility that's portrayed by these types of fighters, these bully-type fighters, goes away. And then what's left is talent. And what we saw last night, in my opinion, was strictly a better talented fighter at this stage. Now, you can make the argument, should Kovalev have fought Alvarez several years back, the outcome would have been different. But his power was there. Like you said, Sal, when he threw the jab, it landed with convincibility. But let me tell you this. There was one thing that really caught my ear during this broadcast. It was a point when Max Kellerman, I believe, and he was talking about this next fight, the Bivol fight. And he said, hey, listen, I don't care what punch stat says. He says, when you look at the actual punches landed. And you know what? I wish I should have cut that audio clip out, because that's a guy, Max Kellerman, who said it a matter of factly, and whether he realized it or not, he was saying exactly what I've been saying all along about the punch stats and about how, we let two other people determine whether a punch landed or not, and then a lot of people, including Jim Lampley, use it as fact. And what Max was saying was, well, he throws a punch that might be landing it, but really it grazed. Really, he blocked it. Really, it didn't land flush. It wasn't a flush. And I'm like, oh man, that's so correct. And I was glad he said it, whether he meant it or not. But speaking of Bivol, he retained his title. He improved to 14-0 with 11 knockouts when he won a unanimous decision against Isaac Chilemba, who drops his sixth fight. He's 25-6 now with a couple of draws, 116, 112, 120 to 108. Listen, you mentioned Roy Jones Jr., Sal. Well, Roy Jones Jr. was in the corner of Isaac Chilemba, and when you started to say between rounds and 1 and 2, I thought that you were referring to what he was saying to Chilemba. You made it clear that it was Kovalev between 1 and 2. He looked beaten, but I'll say this: between rounds 1 and 2, Roy Jones Jr. is saying to Chilemba, "Hey, if we don't get stopped, we win." He basically, it seemed like the game plan was to survive this fight and make it to the final bell and win, lose, or draw. That was a victory for Chilemba because the way he looks at it, he still maintains his tough journeyman status and will still be able to get another payday. What was your thoughts on that fight, Sal?
Well, it was, to me, I think it was a snooze fest. I mean, it was the same round over and over. I had the score maybe 120, 109. I gave one round a draw maybe, and I think that no, I actually gave one round to Chilemba, but I think that hearing his instructions in the last round, you got to knock him out to win. I think that would have been better served if he started in the 7th round, saying, "Hey man, you're well behind. You're giving these rounds away. You got to dig deep and you got to do something different. You just can't keep going out there and just." And I was thinking of you, Bill, during the fight because he almost looked like Chilemba almost looked like he was giving a Jack Johnson style. He would keep that left down, the right cocked underneath the chin, and but of course there was no Jack Johnson behind the punches. I almost fell asleep during the fight. I didn't think it was a great fight, but I think that Bivol did what he had to do. Bivol's a textbook. He doesn't surprise you with too much. He's there. He boxes. He delivers his punches. He has some decent defense, and this was supposed to be a showcase for Bivol and Kovalev to kind of get in the ring together. Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be Bivol, all right, and but we're going to see him against Alvarez, and I think Alvarez is going to beat him. I think so.
Well, it's a really good matchup, as would have been.
Yes.
Kovalev against Bivol. Don't be surprised if you don't see Kovalev still fight Bivol. But I thought that Bivol did put on a great performance. I think that he showed that this kid, he's got punching power. He's smart in there. He's makes calm, you miss. He's smart. He's got the same rattled. Level. He makes you miss. He lands flush, and he's in there for the long haul. Credit to Chilemba. Being defensive and surviving. And to be honest with you, what I gathered from the instruction or lack of from Roy Jones Jr. in the corner, that was their game plan. But nonetheless, we'll talk more about these fights. We got Dax Khan coming up and also Alex Purpley. But just to round out the fights from the weekend, Andre Berto beat Devon Alexander in a split decision as the main event in Long Island. 115-112 twice for Berto. One judge had it 114-113 for Devon Alexander. Personally, I scored it 115-112 for Devon Alexander. I thought he won the fight. And, the thing about Andre Berto, he looks the part. He's in shape always. But I think that this fight really demonstrated the lack of skill that Andre Berto has. Remember, I believe that this very well could have been the best Andre Berto you've ever seen. You can't go back in time and say, well, Andre Berto used to be such a better fighter, and, as he's aging, he's deteriorating a little. When can you say that? He was kind of rushed and handed a title. As soon as he got challenged, by a real fighter, he lost. He's been in these knockout, drag-out slugfests, which showed that he's not anything more than a slugger. And, of course, his big claim to fame is his fight with Floyd Mayweather. But now we see why Mayweather picked him. I mean, he can't get out of his own way. He's a one-dimensional fighter.
He's a durable fighter.
He's durable he is a durable fighter. You know what? Who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Jean Pascal. They're simple fighters. Well, they're simple. They're both similar fighters. They go for the kill. They have good chins. They're a good test. But really, what do? Alexander, his lack of punch output, which Virgil Hunter was telling him to do, would have won him this fight. And I personally think he won the fight. Did you get a chance to see it?
No, sir, I did not.
Well, Ron Lipton was the referee in this fight.
Good.
And I will say this. Ron Lipton has been struggling to get back as the main event on a TV broadcast. And I just want to congratulate Ron. He finally got there. Not that he didn't deserve it sooner. but the powers that be gave him the chance. And I'll tell you what, he showed what a good referee's supposed to do, in my opinion. He let the guys fight. When he had to warn them, he warned them sternly. He was never in the camera shot, so as I'm trying to watch it, I'm seeing Ron's back. I didn't see it. Ron was off to the side, but he was in right there when he needed to be. And one other thing, not that it really matters, but I think it does. I mean, to other people it doesn't matter, but to me it does. Ron's in good shape. Ron can move around the ring. How many times do you see these referees, Sal, that are so out of shape that you wonder if they're going to drop dead of a heart attack in the ring, because they can't move around. At least this guy was able to move. It was refreshing to see, to be honest with you.
Yes, good point. Good point. And I'm glad that he worked his way back up. I know he worked hard for that, and I'm glad he did a good job.
Some other fights in Long Island in Uniondale. Peter Quinlan, Kid Chocolate, had moved up to super middleweight, and he won a 10-round unanimous decision over Jalen Love. He improves to 31 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, with 23 of his wins coming by knockout. Jalen Love, to me, proved that he's nothing more than what he is. He's one of Floyd Mayweather's bodyguard goons that he has hanging around. This guy was exposed a while ago. And not that fighting and going the distance with Quinlan wasn't a feat in itself, but there was a lot of love for Jalen Love. I mean, people thought that this guy was going to be the next person controlling the super middleweight division, and he's fallen far short of that. 99-91, 98-92 twice, and justifiable scores in that one. In the light heavyweight division, ranked fighter Marcus Brown improved to 22-0 when he won a unanimous decision over Lennon Castillo, who drops to 18-2-1. It was a 10-round fight, 98-91 twice, 97-92, all in favor of the young Marcus Brown. To be honest with you, he didn't impress me much in this fight. He doesn't fight with any kind of urgency. And, fighting these level guys like Castillo is fine for Marcus Brown. But if he truly wants to get up into that next level, he's going to have to step it up quite a bit. In one of the most entertaining fights of the weekend, Sal, and I'm sorry you missed these, was former world champion, welterweight world champion, Luis Collazo, fought Bryant Goodfella Perella, who's been on this show, and Perella was the young gun coming in and was a favorite. Collazo, 37-year-old veteran who's been in a lot of fights. Well, the former champion and 37-year-old so-called old man fought a typical Luis Collazo fight and won a unanimous decision, or actually it was a majority decision. I don't understand why, but Collazo improved to 38-7 with 20 knockouts when he won this fight. Perella drops to 15-2, 98-92, 96-94, both very decent scores. It was more like 98-92. All right, I mean Collazo just put a good old-fashioned butt whipping on Perella. And then one of the judges, Sal, scored it 95-95. When I heard that, I'm like, wow. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I mean, if any of you ever out there never really watched a Luis Collazo fight. Now, the thing about Luis Collazo is that he's up and down. Sometimes he looks really good. Sometimes he looks bad. But I'll tell you what. It seems that every time that I watch him and every time that he's brought in to be that grizzly veteran that a young fighter is supposed to beat, he turns and whoops their butt, man. And that's what he did last night. And congratulations to Luis Collazo. I hope that he gets another shot. And any fighter that steps in the ring with him and takes him lightly is in some serious trouble. But speaking of congrats, I want to congratulate Tevin Farmer. Friday night he fought, or it might have been early Saturday. I get confused with the time difference because he fought in Australia against former multi-division world champ Billy Dibb. And the IBF's junior lightweight title was on the line, and Tevin Farmer finally got the job done, won a unanimous decision over Billy Dibb to catch the title. The reason why I'm giving congrats to him is because Tevin Farmer, who's now 26 wins, 4 losses, and a draw with 5 knockouts, is one tough SOB. And this kid was put in tough fights early in his career, and picked up a couple of losses. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't a good fighter, and that didn't mean that he shouldn't deserve a chance. It's just the nature of how this business works, and I was glad to see him get the opportunity against Billy Dibb, who in my opinion is an overrated fighter anyway. So I congratulate Tevin Farmer. I hope that he can keep the ball moving. Sal, you're going to love his quote after the fight. He said, Billy Dibb's a hell of a fighter. He had a great career. He's a 2-time world champion. He tried to bully me, and that might have worked if I wasn't from Philly. I'm the new champion of the world. It was a long time to get here, but we have a long way to go. Nobody wants to give me a shot. Everybody's ducks me. So I had to kick down the door. Now I got a belt, and everybody will want to start screaming my name. I'm ready to fight anyone and unify the title. So throwback kind of a fighter in Tevin Farmer. I mean, how can you not root for a kid like this, right?
No. You got to challenge yourself. You got to accept all oncoming opponents, and I'll tell you what, that's why the strong survive, and that's the human race that we compete in every day.
So one other thing we're going to talk about as the show goes on, aside from all the fights that we just discussed, in big news in the sport is the confirmation from both sides that a deal is currently being worked on, and according to both sides, close. One side says very close, the other side says close to being signed, sealed, and delivered. That would be WBC World Heavyweight Champion defending his title against technically the linear heavyweight champion in Tyson Fury. This fight scheduled or being tried to be scheduled for December here in the United States. When I look at this fight, I'll give reasons why, Sal, in a minute, and I've always been a huge Tyson Fury fan.
You always have.
But let me tell you this. Deontay Wilder will knock out Tyson Fury. I'll tell you that right now. Tyson Fury, although he's 6'9", he's got a 2-inch height advantage over Deontay Wilder. That's kind of funny when you think about it.
That's funny when you say that. He got 6'7", he's got 2-inch height.
Yeah, Deontay Wilder's 6'7", all right, and he's the shorter guy. The shorter guy. So
I think his octopus likes punches and arms might be a little bit better reach anyway.
Well, here's the thing. Deontay Wilder, like I've said time and time again, is a one-trick pony. All he has is punching power. But that's all he needs against Tyson Fury. That's all he needs against Tyson Fury, because I'll tell you why. I'm not so sure Tyson Fury punches any harder than Luis Ortiz. For a big man, now Tyson Fury in his last fight weighed 276 pounds, okay? Now, in one of his career best fights, and that was his fight against Vladimir Klitschko, he weighed 247. So I'm thinking that he's at least 20, 25 pounds overweight. And he is scheduled to fight in August against Francisco Piata. So, and Francisco Piata is much better opponent than who he fought in his last fight. But still, I don't think this guy is ready for Deontay Wilder, especially considering when you really look into Tyson Fury's record, his top 3 victories was the fight against Klitschko, Kevin Johnson, when Kevin Johnson mattered. You got to go back. Look at the dates. Punch him up and look at the dates. Kevin Johnson at the time was 28 wins, 2 losses, and a draw, and was a big heavyweight in the mix. And, Tyson Fury beat him. And his win over Derek Chisora, who, again, was in the mix at that time. Those were the 3 big fights he ever had. Is that any different than the 3 biggest fights that Deontay had? In my opinion, his 3 best fights was his last one against Ortiz. I got to give him credit for the first fight against Berman Stavern, even though Stavern we know wasn't much, but Deontay displayed a jab in that fight. and the willingness to let a fight go the distance. I give him credit for that. And the other fight that I always give credit for Deontay for winning was Artur Spitska. Spitska was a top 10 heavyweight at that time and was a tough guy. So when you look at the three best wins for both these fighters, Sal, they're very equal. And if you have the power, the punching power, as the equalizer, I'm putting my money on Deontay in this fight.
No, me too. I agree with you, and I think that Deontay, with his unorthodox style and his punches coming from left field, right field, I think it's going to be too much for Tyson Fury to really endure the distance, and it's just going to be one time he's going to catch him, and you'll see Tyson Fury look a little bit like Sergey Kovalev.
Well, let me tell you this. In his fight against Steve USS Cunningham, Tyson Fury got rocked. He was hurt in that fight. Steve USS Cunningham was a cruiserweight. Steve USS Cunningham weighed 210 pounds against Tyson Fury when they fought. There's no way that Tyson Fury is going to be able to withstand a solid shot from Deontay. Now, the people are going to say, yeah, but Tyson Fury is going to know how to tie him up and get inside and lean on him and rough him up a bit and all those things. And I agree with that. You know, at 6'7", 32 years old, you know, we've seen the best of Deontay Wilder, and it was in his last fight. You know, although he weighed 214 pounds in his last fight, 214 3/4 to be exact, his heaviest was 229. What he decides to come in on weight against a Tyson Fury is yet to be seen. I would think he would try to be like he did against Luis Ortiz. He looked good against Ortiz. He weathered the storm, and he came back and won by decision. I'm thinking that would be his mindset going against Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury would want to lean on him, would want to hold him and try to hit him inside and frustrate Deontay Wilder. That's going to be Tyson Fury's game. Hope to wear him out and take him into the later rounds. I just don't think that Tyson Fury's chin is going to withstand the punching power of Deontay Wilder. I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
I agree with you. And I also, you know, I've said often about Deontay Wilder, we haven't seen the best Deontay Wilder yet. And I think we're still going to see a better version as he goes up with the level of competition. I think he's got more than just that one trick, even though that's all he needs on his level. But, you know, I give a lot of credence to Mark Breland, his teacher, his student, his trainer. And, you know, what's good about having an opponent signed, sealed, and delivered, you do have those weeks, maybe months, to train and look to do things against that style of an opponent. You get similar sparring partners that come in, although I don't know how many you're going to get 6'9", but you still will look and drill and try different things to see how they could be utilized and implemented in the fight itself. So, like I said, I give a lot of credence and a lot of respect to Mark Breland, and hopefully Deontay Wilder is still work in motion and still learning as his student. And so that's why I say we still have not seen the very best Deontay Wilder. And I do agree with you that he's going to knock out, maybe even knock him out cold, Tyson Fury.
Yeah, we strongly disagree. We're going to take a break. We got Dax Khan
I know we
coming,
do.
but we strongly disagree about Wilder. We have seen the best of Wilder. He's not going to all of a sudden start, displaying any kind of ability other than what he's shown us right now. And I think it's a good move for him to fight Tyson Fury. I think it's a big. It's going to be on pay-per-view. I think that it's a big advancement for him with his negotiation and bargaining power with Anthony Joshua. So it's a big fight and a good fight for Deontay Wilder. But all we're going to see is Deontay Wilder do what he does, and he's going to be successful. He's going to knock out Tyson Fury. Listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Dax Khan will join us, and we'll get his thoughts on the big fights from this past weekend. Don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. Give a special shout out to all of our listeners that are listening. Listeners, listen, on WGIG and WSMN. Glad to have you part of the show. And joining us right now, speaking about being part of the show, is my man Dax Khan. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning. How's everybody today?
Better than Sergey Kovalev. What was your thoughts on the Alvarez knockout over Sergey Kovalev?
Listen, Alvarez started the fight outboxing him. Kovalev came in. He looked overconfident. He looked tense. Once he turned it up in the fourth, he had some success. And he hurt Alvarez a little bit, and I think he got reckless. And Alvarez, remained calm, credit to him. He has a great chin. He showed that better than anybody could have expected. And then he caught him with that counter, and I think he just surprised and shocked Kovalev, who has shown and proved, not only last night, but we've seen it in the Ward fight, that like a lot of punchers, he has the curse of, I need my power, and when I'm hurt, I don't know what to do. And we've seen that over the years, the history of the sport, when a guy is a tremendous puncher. And Kovalev is, a very good boxer, but you know what? He just doesn't know what to do. He panics in those situations. And Alvarez, he showed levels, and he also showed why up in Canada they were paying him money to stay away from Adonis Stevenson. They knew something what nobody else did, and Alvarez showed last night.
Very good point.
I thought that Alvarez showed that he outboxed Kovalev. I mean, you're right. A lot of people don't even look at Kovalev or give him credit for his boxing ability, which he has. And at times in the fight last night, he displayed some of his boxing ability, Dax. But at the end, I think that Alvarez showed that he is a better boxer and that he's got some pop. And like you suggested, and something that we didn't talk about earlier, was that he has a solid chin. He did take some of Kovalev's best shots. But on the other hand, to me, Alvarez looked way bigger, looked like he could have been easily a cruiserweight in there. So that makes you wonder, maybe physically his body able to dry out to make that weight. And then I didn't get the fight night weights. Did you?
No, I didn't. I think Kovalev was about 185, I heard, and Alvarez was about the same. Alvarez didn't gain much weight. Kovalev, too, if you noticed, he came to the ring dry, and he looked kind of drawn out, so maybe he was overtrained for this fight.
Yeah, could be. But he looked like he's aged in his last half a dozen fights, to be honest with you. I thought that the first Andre Ward fight, I thought he won that fight. The second fight, he lost. I know people were very defensive over our term saying he quit on the fight. It wasn't that I was discrediting Kovalev, and I never would. My hang-up with that second Ward fight was that he was looking for help all the time to the referee. And a guy that had a reputation for being a bully, Dax, I figured, that's a guy that should go after and show no respect. He didn't do that against Alvarez.
And again, Bill, that's the curse of the puncher. You don't know what to do.
Well, not all punchers. Some punchers, not all are considered bullies. He was considered a bully. Ward broke down that persona. And then I think that's Alvarez. What's your thoughts of this? Do you think that Alvarez surprised the whole team of Kovalev with his ability to box?
I think so. I think that, they weren't really, they figured, hey, he went in there, he beat Chilemba, I beat Chilemba. He hasn't been in there with anybody, of that level. He went in there with Butte. Butte's been knocked out by, super middleweight, so he didn't give him much of a thought, and he didn't give him the respect he should have, and he paid for it. So, the Kovalev persona is gone. I think his own personal confidence, so to speak, is shot, and Kovalev's never going to be the same again.
Never.
And at the time of the stoppage, he was up twice. It was 59-55, I think, twice, and 58-56. So, he was ahead on the cards. I personally had Alvarez winning all but one round.
I had Alvarez winning too. Hey, we got a super chat from my man Joel. He wants us to give us our thoughts on if Yvonne Michelle from GYM will make a fight or try to make a fight between his track star Adonis Stevenson against Elder Alvarez. What do you think, Dax? You think that fight will be made?
I'll tell you this. I'll break it out now. I was going to break it out later. That's all going to decide on Alexander Usyk. Alexander Usyk wants another title. He wants it either in the heavyweight division or he wants it in the light heavyweight division. When he won the World Boxing Super Series, the WBO elevated him to their super champion. In their new rules and their new policy, the super champion has the right to be the challenger for either the champion in the division under or the division above. And they actually get to have that title shot before the mandatory that's already in that division. Alexander Usyk wants one of those titles. He was eyeing both this fight and he was eyeing both Anthony Joshua, whoever's willing to go first. So right now, it really depends on Alexander Usyk.
Well, I mean, what do you think would be a smarter fight for him, to go down, virtually 20 pounds, or be able to bulk up? And I mean, obviously, Usyk is a talented fighter. Boxer. I'm talking boxing ability. So he must think that he can outbox a heavyweight. I mean, it always seems for a big guy, at least when you reach a certain height, it always seems easier and less stressful on your body to move up rather than move down.
This is true. I think more likely he's going to go up if he can get the AJ fight, but I don't think that they're Team AJ, Anthony Joshua, rather. I don't think they're trying to make a fight with anybody right now, other than the Deontay Wilder fight, and they're not trying to chance going in there and looking bad against somebody like an Alexander Usyk, who even if he knocked out Usyk, he kind of looks silly. Usyk would really wear him out. Remember, Anthony Joshua has stamina problems, and Alexander Usyk doesn't have stamina problems, and Usyk will actually, just sit there and play with him, pepper him, make him look foolish, very much in a Lomachenko type style. So, and I think Usyk, even for just one fight, from the way he's talking, even just one fight, he'd be willing to come down to 175 pounds, win that title, vacate, and then go back up. Usyk is chasing greatness right now, which not a lot of fighters are, and so that would depend on him. As far as the Adonis Stevenson versus Alvarez, Adonis Stevenson has his own date in September. He has to fight his mandatory Alexander Vazik.
Well, to answer...
On November 3rd, I'm sorry. That's already signed, sealed, and delivered. That has to go where Adonis Stevenson's being stripped.
Well, he was supposed to fight Alvarez at least 3 times.
There's no step-aside money. There's nothing. Vazik is the interim title holder.
Well, to answer Joel's question in his super chat, do I think Adonis will fight Alvarez next? Listen, Adonis Stevenson ducked Alvarez 3 times previously. And now he's got another title, so that means that the WBC is all of a sudden going to, not even recognize that he exists. So the answer is no. I don't think. Would I like to see the fight? Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Stevenson fight Kovalev, to be honest with you. And don't be surprised if Stevenson loses, that Kovalev-Stevenson fight doesn't happen when both are trying to make a comeback. Dax, we don't want to run out of time with you, so let's move on to the next fight. Dimitri Bivol in a workman-like, and I thought it was an entertaining fight because I think that Bivol showed us the full gamut of his skill. The thing is Chilemba's no easy out. Not many people can stop this guy, but Dimitri Bivol went the distance. What was your thoughts on that fight?
Listen, Bivol is getting a bad rap because the expectations are so high on him, and the power, being stressed on him. You stated it perfectly. He showed the world that extra level. I thought he showed the world that extra level in the Sullivan Barrera fight. Sullivan Barrera, who's a more durable and more talented and fighter who has more to him, and the fighter who's a lot larger than Isaac Chilemba, was completely shut down by Bivol and stopped. So Isaac Chilemba is the guy, he's not at that championship level, of course we know that, but, nobody's had an easy time, even in his stoppage loss to Vazik. He had that hand injury. He fought Alvarez, he's fought Kovalev, he's fought Tony Bello, and if you watch those fights, or if you remember watching those fights compared to the Bivol fight, what the difference was, in those fights, actually, Isaac Chilemba was getting his offense off. Against Bivol, he wasn't able to get his offense off. He was actually confused on what to do. He had those moments of 1 or 2 rounds where he had some success, but those were rounds where Bivol was just boxing. He was using his jab, setting the tempo. Like Usyk, he decides when the fight is going to be turned up, when it's going to slow down. He's in total control. He's hard to hit. His defense is underrated. I didn't realize he had such good footwork. Obviously, he has phenomenal stamina. So, Dimitri Bivol really showed levels in that fight, and I think we should appreciate that rather than everybody looking for a reason to criticize that, because now what I'm seeing in my mind, another 5, 6, 7 fights, we have a genuine pound-for-pound fighter and not a guy, where we're just wondering exactly how good he can be. Chilemba, unfortunately, this is an era, hopefully, that he can kind of end up like Ray Beltran with so many belts he should, he'll end up being able eventually to snag one, because Isaac Chilemba has really paid his dues inside the sport.
I don't know how much he's got left. In terms of, legitimately doing anything other than what he did against Bivol. I didn't like hearing Roy Jones Jr. in the corner telling them, just basically their game plan to me sounded like they wanted to just go the distance in this fight and not have it stopped. And, to them, they had a victory. And, when you're fighting to do that, obviously he's fighting for another payday, another fight against a guy similar to Bivol. it's time to hang it up because I mean why go through the risk of getting seriously injured? But anyway,
main events feeds into everybody. You know, that's what instead of anybody doing the right thing by Chilemba, what they said is, you know, and they did this a couple years ago. He's durable. He'll always put on a good fight. He's not going to get stopped. Let's put him in there against the guy that we want to look sensational. And if they look bad, we can always use this excuse of where, you know, Isaac Chilemba is no easy out. But, you know, for the last 5-6 years, he's been a top 10 heavyweight steady.
Light heavyweight, yeah.
Light heavyweight,
in the other fight across the way, this one was in Long Island. Andre.
One last thing about Bivol. You know, Bivol is not going to go with HBO. You know, there's a rumor, Bill. Me and Sal were talking about this during the break that World of Boxing, the promoter of Bivol, has signed an agreement with Eddie Hearn, and Dimitri Bivol is going to have about 4 or 5 fights exclusively on the new DAZN app.
Yeah, they for some reason they pronounce it DAZN is the way that the app is pronounced is DAZN.
I looked it up, and they had like broke it down, and they had about 3 different ways to say it. DAZN, the zone. They were showing the German way, the French way, the English way. So I just won't.
Well, let's. I want to try and get these other fights in because some of them were really good. First and foremost, Andre Berto wins a split decision over Devon Alexander. You know, to be honest with you, I thought that Devon Alexander won this fight. I scored this fight 115-112. To me, all the other fights that took place really were non-controversial in my opinion. There was no other winner than the guys who won these fights, except for this one. And the reason why I thought Alexander won is I thought that he was landing the more significant punches. I thought that Berto was doing what Berto does. I think Berto, in a nutshell, no disrespect to Andre, and I know he trains very hard and the beast mode, all this stuff. But the truth of the matter is that he's maxed out. This guy's nothing special. He's aside from his conditioning, which is questionable inside the ring. I mean, he looks like he's in great shape. I think he's ordinary at best. I thought that Alexander squeaked out the win. What'd you think, Dax?
I thought, you know, it was a fight where it depended on what type of style you like. The guy who was coming forward constantly and throwing the big punches, or did you like the boxer? You know, it could have went either way. I agree. I wouldn't have had a problem with Alexander winning. You know, remember, this was almost 900 days since Andre Berto's last win, and the last significant win for Devon Alexander was back in 2012, I believe, when he won that IBF title from Randall Bailey that he never made a successful defense against when he lost to Sean Porter. So, you know, this was a sink or swim fight for both guys, and unfortunately, neither of them did anything to make you say that they're going to be around any longer in a significant matter. If anything, dare I say, you know, with the way the sport is today, they kind of squeaked it out towards Andre Berto because they know Andre Berto will give 1 or 2 more exciting fights. Did you notice the commentary? When they said in there, they said, oh, Andre Berto has been involved in some of the most exciting and biggest fights of the last several years. And then real quick, they go, and so is Devon Alexander.
Andre Berto, this is my point. Andre Berto really, you can't go back and say that the performance that he had last night was any different than any of his best performances. I mean, that's it with Andre Berto. That's what you get. End of story. Andre Berto is what we saw the other night. As far as Devon Alexander, there was a time when he was very flashy. I don't know what's happened to him, but in any event. Moving on.
He was once hailed as the future pound-for-pound king of the sport.
Who, Devon?
Yes, when he was at 140 pounds.
He was.
I forget who he fought before Tim Bradley. They said, this is going to be the next pound-for-pound king of the sport.
And he looked like he was on his way to it. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there was no question the guy had speed, power. Listen, I was ringside for the fight when he fought, who was it, at one of the casinos. It was another champion. He said he never hit him, and the guy ended up with his elbow. Was all damaged and stuff. Juan Urango. All right. That fight. Juan Urango was a good fighter. Was injured going into that fight, and I'll never forget. After that fight, Devon Alexander saying, well, he never even hit me. And I'm looking at this guy's chest, and it was like red as an apple from all the shots that Urango has landed. I mean, flush. And he clearly was rocked in this fight. Now, granted, I remember the fight. I was right there. A devastating uppercut knocked him out. But anyway, moving on. Peter Kid Chocolate Quinlan improved to 34-1 with a draw when he won a unanimous decision over Jalen Love. You know, Dax, I said Jalen Love at one time was supposed to be a heavy duty prospect and then a contender, and everybody thought this guy was the next one. I think this guy is a top 10 contender at best. I was glad to see Quinlan win the fight only because he moved up in weight. How do you think this is going to carry him as time goes forward?
Peter Quinlan, as far as Jalen Love, he is what he is on the surface. The only new wrinkle to his game is that extra footwork that he seemed to bring on after the Poirier Medina knockout loss. But I haven't seen his boxing skills improved, and he certainly has become more defensive minded, which isn't going to help him as he tries to move up the ladder in the future. Quinlan, he looks kind of shot, struggling. This is only his second fight since that loss to Danny Jacobs, who I absolutely believe ruined Peter Quinlan mentally and physically as a fighter. Especially when he had Love almost, on the ropes in the 8th round, and he was hurt, and he seemed to punch himself out. So Peter Quinlan, if he ever expects to get back into the mix and even become a genuine top 10 contender, he's going to have to start fighting more often. And in that 168-pound division, we have a lot of young champions. Like Berto Ramirez, we have David Benavidez. So Peter Quinlan, at his age, 32, 33 years old, and with such inactivity, he's going to have to step it up, or else we're not going to see much of Peter Quinlan, except in maybe little events like this, fighting once every other year at the Barclays Center. He did take some time off to be with his family, so it'll be interesting how it plays out.
Dax, we're running out of time, and I want to get your thoughts on these last two fights. First and foremost, in a fight that I thought should have been a showcase fight for him, and he didn't even look ordinary at best. Marcus Brown won a decision over Lenin Castillo. I was expecting a little more for Brown. Brown wants to move up, as far as being termed, wants a shot, wants this, wants that, wants to fight the next level guys. I'm not so sure he's ready for it. What was your thoughts on this fight?
No, he's not ready for the next step. He's a big, strong fighter. He has decent skills, but his best career wins are over a very faded Gabriel Campillo, Shawnee Monahan. I don't care what anybody says. He lost the fight to Kalajic, even though that he was down early in that fight, I believe, and he got the split decision, or actually Kalajic was down early in that round, and the fact that he went down against Castillo last night, even though it was a flash knockdown. This guy was a 2008 welterweight, so I don't see Marcus Brown being able to take the punches of a Bivol or even an Artur Beterbiev or even a Joe Smith Jr. So I think Marcus Brown is just a guy that when he takes that next level, he's going to get blasted out because he's been handled too carefully and he's been promoted too softly.
The next fight I wanted to talk to you about was actually, I thought, the most entertaining fight of the weekend. And, I mean, how can you not love Luis Collazo beating Brian Perella in a typical, I'm watching this fight, Dax, and I'm laughing to myself. And I'm saying, if anybody's never watched Luis Collazo, this was 100% vintage Collazo against Perella. How can you not root for this guy? He's 37 years old. His action never lowers. He sneaks up on you. He plays possum better than anybody I've seen of late. And I mean, how can you not love him? What'd you think of the performance?
I thought Luis Collazo looked great. And again, you stated, he's 37 years old. He's not in the prime of his career, but he is a guy that no matter what, win or lose, always goes out there and gives it his all. And I don't care who it is, you're not going to have an easy night with him. Collazo went out there and he really took Perella to school I actually thought that anytime after the 7th, it should have been stopped. I don't know what Perella's corner was thinking. I think Luis Collazo might actually ruin this kid. Remember, he was knocked out just a couple fights ago by Ugas. So I don't, I'm not really sure what the corner was thinking. I don't know what the ref was thinking. As far as Luis Collazo, I'd like to see him get one more payday before he calls it a career. And he's had about 45 fights, 46 fights now. He's been in the sport about 13, 14 years, maybe even longer. So Luis Collazo, like you said, again, I always keep referring to Ray Beltran. It's the same type where, no frills, no flash, goes in there, does their job, win, lose, or draw, makes no excuses. And if you sleep on them, what's going to happen is like what we seen on Saturday Night Live, or they might take your title if you go in there and you're looking for an easy defense. And, guys like Collazo, we wish we had a lot more of them inside the sport because we don't see them complaining about, well, I'm only going to do this if I get paid a certain amount of money. If not, we got to fight in my backyard. If not, we got to fight while I'm playing PlayStation. So, Collazo is a great guy for the sport. And Brian Perello, I know he's on the show. I know you like him, Bill, but I think his career is pretty much over. It's plateaued, and we're just going to see him back to the local club circuit.
Can't say I can disagree with you. Dax, I appreciate it, and we'll look forward to you next week, my man.
All right, everybody, enjoy the day.
Take care,
Dax.
That's Dax Khan giving us his thoughts. Sal, the Perella, Dax is right. I mean, he very well may have, been peaked out. But here's the thing. It goes right back to what I've always said. The guy never had a chance to climb the ladder. They go from, basically cupcake, non-competitive fights all the way to a Luis Collazo type fight. Now, I'm not saying that was his first major fight because he already had one and he was stopped, like Dax referred to. But a guy like Collazo, even though he's been around as long as he has, 45 professional fights, and he's 37 years old, this guy's been in some tough fights. He knows all the tricks of the trade. He knew when Perella was coming after him in this fight, gave him everything he could in the first half of the round, just landing shots. Collazo was playing possum. Next thing you know, Collazo comes back, and Dax is right. The fight should have been stopped. I mean, I think these fighters get hurt by being, coddled too much.
Well, I think so too. Bill, they got to step up, and that's all management and training. And we know the game plan, the model that a lot of managers or promoters like to utilize. And you feed a fighter cupcake after cupcake, and you just hope that when you put him in a tough fight, that he rises to the occasion. And then you're counting on a lot. There's a lot that goes on emotionally, mentally, and physically. And if he can handle all that pressure, and if he's thrown in there, then he rises to the top and he comes out the victor. If not, they tried their investment, and he's going to either just become a mediocrity or a B-level fighter, and then get a couple more fights, a couple little paydays, and then he'll be gone. But the model is a model, and some fighters can rise to the occasion when put in that position and deliver. And but the majority of what we see that follow that game plan usually come up a little short.
Yeah, it. Unfortunately, the networks and promoters want to be able to promote a fight with an undefeated fighter. He's yet to be beaten. Somebody's almost go. All the little.
Can't say that. You have a loss.
But what I'm saying is that's what they want to sell. They want to sell that. Because it's right.
The fluff.
It's right. I was just gonna say, but it doesn't. From the fighter perspective, it doesn't help the fighter. You have to be able to get better. And what they try to do with today's sport is they try to get better in the gym with sparring partners. That's a safe way to get better, right? I mean, when you think of it, that's a safe way to get better without risking an L. But here's the problem. In order to do that, if you're going to do it correctly, you have to spend money for good fighters to come into sparring with you. And most of those fighters are in the same boat as you are, and they don't want to waste their time in the gym as a sparring partner. They're trying to find the same guys like you, So, I mean, you might as well just fight each other, I mean, years ago, it wasn't. See, the problem is that if you lose today, you get kicked all the way to the back of the line from one loss. I think there lies the main problem. that you basically your value goes down too much for one loss, and I don't think it's justifiable, Sal.
No, and it's not, because you know what? That one loss, that's the turning point. That's the learning tool. That's the pinnacle point in your career. If you have a defeat, you have to learn from that fight. You must go on from that fight. And you know what? When you go out there next time, you show what you did and what you're capable of, and what you did learn, and bring it to the table. And no, just because you have one defeat doesn't mean that your career is over.
As a matter of fact, in most cases, you become better. Listen, we got to take a short break, and when we come back, Alex Purpley is scheduled to join us, so don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Have osteoarthritis in one or both knees? If you have osteoarthritis in one or both knees, are you on Medicare, Obamacare, or other health insurance? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knees, covered by Medicare at little to absolutely no cost to you. We also offer a prescription strength topical pain relief ointment that can be used for pain experienced on other areas of your body. Our experienced staff will work with your doctor and handle all of your Medicare or insurance paperwork. Best of all, your prescription is shipped directly to your home for free. Will you qualify for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knee, or for a topical pain relief ointment covered by Medicare or private insurance at little or no cost to you?
Find out for free by calling the Back and Knee Pain Center at 1-800-604-1072. That's 1-800-604-1072, 1-800-604-1072.
Medical alarms for people who fall or have medical emergencies. You never think you'll need one until you do. Hi, I'm Lonnie Anderson for Advantage Alert. Today, our advanced systems locate and protect people inside and outside their homes, plus when they're on the road, allowing users with the press of a button to speak with an operator who can summon help. And even after 30 years, Advantage Alert's products remain amazingly affordable.
Call 800-985-1705.
Addiction is an epidemic in America. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, you need to call the R360 Network now.
I'm Ken Seeley, author, addiction recovery specialist, and former addict. R360 is a nationwide network of addiction recovery specialists that I personally selected and recommend.
The call is free, the consultation is free. If you have private insurance, your treatment could be covered with no out-of-pocket cost.
Call 800-705-0023.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And joining us right now to give us his thoughts on the big fights from this weekend is my man Alex Purpley. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning.
Good morning, Alex.
Morning, Sal.
Hey, yeah, come on. You guys have been talking for the last 2 minutes. But in any event, Sergey Kovalev falls at the hands of Eldir Alvarez via a knockout last night. What was your thoughts on the fight?
I loved it. This was really, it wasn't action-packed, but it was packed with drama. There were so many really good elements in it. I'm a big Kovalev fan, and it was rough to see that because I was rooting for him to get himself back together. And I actually was hoping for a rubber match with Andre Ward eventually, but I think the future for him looks bleak right now. But the king is dead. Long live the king, as we say in this sport. That was later. Alvarez fought a beautiful fight. You could tell in that second round, he really sapped the confidence in Kovalev. He was beating him to the punch, and he was outboxing him. He is big, strong, and he was there to win. And even in that fourth round where Kovalev, it looked like, okay, wow, well, here's Kovalev now. He heard him, and he was really battering Alvarez. At the end of that round, HBO, those to their credit, they mentioned it. Max and Jim said, I wonder if by the end of this round, we're going to see something back from Alvarez. And in the last couple of seconds, he did fire a left-right and hit Kovalev right on that jaw. So even that round where Kovalev's confidence must have been surging, he got a reminder at the end that, hey, I'm still here. So I really enjoyed it. Kudos to our man Larry Hazard, because I'm sure he loved having that fight there. It must have been a great night for Atlantic City. I thought things kind of dulled down a little bit with the Bivol in those last couple of rounds. I think to Chilemba's credit, he listened to Roy and started doing what you actually said, surviving. And Bivol didn't have answers to that. And I think in that sense, it was intriguing because we got to see that, but things were kind of dull. And then they got explosive again, and you could see the crowd was on their feet for that Kovalev fight. So I really enjoyed it. Where does Kovalev go next? I don't know. It looks like it's over, and it's amazing to see what kind of a front runner he was. He's not a guy who could handle whenever, like a Mike Tyson, whenever he faced adversity, he crumpled. He wasn't able to come back from it, in the fight.
You say something that's true, and I no discredit to Kovalev, because like you, I was a big Kovalev fan. There's no question about it. I was very against Stevenson over that whole thing. I've turned 100% against Stevenson because he would never fight Kovalev. And to Kovalev's credit, and to Andre Ward's credit, they fought each other. Now, I'm not comparing Alvarez to Ward by any stretch of the imagination, but what I saw in the fight last night against with Kovalev against Alvarez was something similar that I saw in both fights against Andre Ward. Now, keeping in mind, I felt that Kovalev won the first fight, but Kovalev reached a plateau in his career. And it became evident in these last three fights. Well, I'm excluding the two previous to the fight last night because we all knew the outcome of those. Those were inevitable, okay? They were not real challenging fights like the two fights against Ward and, of course, the fight last night against Alvarez. What I saw was Kovalev really basically doing what all he can do. There's nothing else. There's nothing else in the bag of tricks. And once a fighter can get beyond his best, whether it be his boxing ability, his punching power, the bulliness, the mean streak, whatever, once a fighter, an opponent gets by that, Kovalev becomes extraordinarily ordinary. And I think that's what we saw in both fights against Ward, and we saw it last night against Alvarez.
Good point.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some truth, a lot of truth to that, because that's exactly what happened. And I think that is the. It's interesting to see that because I think one of the biggest scales we've seen that on recently was, but it wasn't as brutal. Was Guillermo Rigondeaux against Vasil Lomachenko. That was like all at once. He was like, wow, I've never been in a fight like this, and I can't handle it. I'm out.
Sure. Exactly. Wow.
Kovalev, of course, was a lot tougher than that, and it's rough for him in a way because the real injustice was done to him in the first Ward fight. I felt he won that fight on the cards. The second fight, to me that one is, again, I'll make another Mike Tyson reference. Some people think, well, the first loss to Holyfield, well, it was all because Holyfield was headbutting him. People think of that win of Ward's was all because he kept hitting the balls. Well, that was definitely a factor, but when you go and watch the replay, the final two shots are in the nuts. But he was broken and nonviolent. It's submissive on the ropes before that. So to me, that was almost like a checkmate knockout. Even before he went low and gave him like a Ken Buchanan. And that's the thing about our sport, is it's like life. It ain't fair. Sometimes, you have a Ken Buchanan who loses the biggest fight of his life on a punch to the balls. But, does that make Roberto Duran less? I don't know. I digress. But you're right. I think that was the thing that if you give one of the other things that Alvarez was very good at, that Ward was too, is the distance and making him pay with counter punches and beating him with the jab. And all those things worked for Alvarez last night. And Kovalev doesn't like it. And he doesn't know how to think in the fight to change it up. I think that's why when he started landing in that fourth round, you could tell he was very excited. And Roy was right. In the fifth, you could see he was a little gassed out. So it was fascinating. I had him up 4-2 when the knockout came. I don't know. To me, it was just a really exciting night. I enjoyed it.
Well, the question of where does Kovalev go from here? The truth of the matter is if he wanted to get back in the mix, I'm sure he could. He could fight a Chilemba again, and Chilemba, prove that he's a good gauge. He could still go after Bivol. He could fight the Adonis Stevenson should Stevenson lose. I mean, he could continue. Whether he should or not is a whole nother ball game. I think that the mystique of Kovalev is gone, and I would assume that he's made enough money. If I were him and I were managing him, I'd probably tell him it's over, unless you got another opportunity directly for a world title shot that was a big money fight, like maybe against Dimitri Bivol. Other than that, I wouldn't try to start to climb the ladder again and all of that stuff. That's my thought. What do you guys think?
I think it's a good point, Bill. I can agree with you on that. And, I think that for him to try to climb that ladder again, I mean, he was given two softies after the loss to Ward, and he was able to win that, and that was supposed to help build his confidence. But I think his confidence is not only shot, but I think his, as you said, the invincibility factor and the awesome power and the durability of a fighter. I think he shot. I think that's gone and it's gone forever. Sure, a quick win back in the saddle may help him, but to position him in a big fight. But if he can't get, as you say, an A-level fight right now for a lot of money and try to just go from there, I don't see really why he's going to want to stick around for too much longer.
Yeah, I think a fight with Bivol could be interesting, but I mean, I don't know if he wins it. Bivol, I think, looked good. But I think he didn't look as invincible as HBO hoped, and I think that's why they they weren't exactly, like Dax was saying, weren't exactly singing his praises in the last couple rounds. Because if he was all that, shouldn't he be able to figure out how to stop Chilemba? And he certainly could. But at the same time, a veteran guy like Chilemba can do enough to not get stopped. And I think that was partially to credit to Roy Jones, even though did seem like there was a little tension in that corner there between Roy and the other trainer. I didn't catch who it was, who the name of Chilemba's other trainer was, but you could tell after one round, that trainer grabbed Chilemba's shoulder, was like encouraging him, and Roy kind of laughed at him. And I was like, well, must be a fun.
Too late for that.
In that corner, you know.
I think it was Ray Arcel, wasn't it?
But then I think things. I think, you know, I think Chilemba did sort of listen to Roy, so it worked. I don't know. A lot of people are down on Roy. I'm a fan of his now more than ever. I really was not a fan of his when he was active, and I am much more now in him. In you know, his work with HBO, and even, you know, last night I thought he did a pretty good job. But
see, I'm the reverse. I'm the 100% reverse.
I know I'm out there.
I loved him when he was in the ring. I can't stand him outside the ring. I think that, you know, he just. I've never liked fighters that make it like it's all about them. I'm the great. I'm this. I'm that. It's a sport that you don't have to do that in. It's a sport that all you have to do in this.
It's Roy.
Yeah, but all you have to do in this sport is perform, and then that's it. You never have. You know who I thought did a really good job. The commentating, overall wasn't that great for everybody, but. And just to close out on the Bivol Chilemba, listen, if HBO wanted Bivol to look fantastic, you don't put him in with Isaac Chilemba, because, you know, this is a guy that has a tendency to make everybody look bad. He knows how to survive, and with Roy Jones Jr. in his corner with the game plan to survive, there was no way to Bivol. And to Bivol's credit, not only should people give Chilemba more credit for being able to survive and be slick in there, but to Bivol's credit, he didn't make any stupid amateur mistakes of trying to go in too much for the kill. He said, okay, you're going to give me the fight like this? I'm going to be able to beat you by peppering you and doing what I want during the fight. I'm not going to win by knockout, but I'll take the win. And I give Bivol credit for that. We have a real fighter in Bivol. I would not be surprised if we see Kovalev try to get a fast track to him.
Yeah,
I could agree. I mean, Bivol is definitely it's exciting to watch. God, he looks so young. He looks like a young Rocky Cenicola in there. He is really the age difference to me was startling. He's got things to learn, but he's quick. He's smart. He likes the variation of his combinations is really nice to watch. So yeah, I think he could beat Kovalev, because I think he's definitely smarter than Kovalev, but it could be a dangerous fight for Bivol, because if he goes to war with Kovalev and it becomes a really tough fight, you could end up ruining Bivol at this stage in his career.
But I don't think that Kovalev. First of all, Bivol likes you to go toe-to-toe with him, and I think that the guy... He has handled it so far, and he seems strong, and he seems that he has multiple weapons that he can use. I mean, this is a guy that's a right-hander that was leading more savagely with his left than anything else. And I think that Kovalev, yes, he's got punching power, but now his chin might be suspect after getting stopped. I personally thought the referee did a terrible job. I think they should have waved it off after the second knockdown. He was in no condition to continue. He said he wanted to continue, but he was still staggering around. I'm shocked that Larry, and I would be shocked that if Larry doesn't have a discussion with that referee, because that fight should have been waved off. But in any event, hey, moving forward, Alex, Andre Berto against Devon Alexander. Listen, it was a close fight. Berto proved to me that he was never anything special other than a good-looking specimen of a fighter. It really proved to me why Floyd Mayweather, who claims he's the best ever, picked Andre Berto. I mean, this is a guy that's just hasn't changed in several years. But to be honest with you, I thought Devon Alexander won this fight. I thought that he scored more, landed the more meaningful punches, and defensively, when Berto was throwing some of those punches, to me it looked like Devon was handling them in terms of deflecting them or turning just a little bit. They may have just grazed him and landed by a technical point of view, but they weren't really hurting Devon. I think Devon blew it himself. by the lack of output. How did you see this fight going?
Unfortunately, I only saw the first 5 rounds or 6 rounds of that fight because I switched to HBO. But you're right. I mean, I agree with what you're saying in how I was scoring it up to that point. I thought Devon Alexander, and that to me, I thought that was a little more interesting. I want to watch the rest of that fight because I thought Ron Lipton had a moment there, a referee moment where he missed 2 shots behind the head that Alexander hit Berto with as he was going down. That I was surprised he didn't warn him about. So I have to watch the rest of that fight. I did watch the Quillen fight, where I thought he, did what he did against Jalen Love. That I don't know. To me, I find that annoying when a fighter's talking to people outside the ring the whole time. But hey, whatever. I thought Sean Porter did a pretty good job in commentary. On that PBC card.
Yeah, but so did the one that I was really impressed with was Robert the Ghost Guerrero. I thought that he would. I thought Sean Porter does a good job. As a matter of fact, Sean Porter, I believe, studied being a commentator in college and stuff. So I mean, he's got some background. But I thought that the way comments and thoughts were delivered. More professionally, even though he doesn't have as much experience per se, was Robert the Ghost Guerrero. I thought that when he spoke, he was doing a much better job. I love Sean Porter. I mean, I hope that Sean Porter beats Danny Garcia, but I just thought that Robert the Ghost Guerrero has really, because the first couple of times he did it, he definitely did not sound as polished as he did last night. But speaking of that,
letting them sort of pantomime what was going on outside the ring was great. I thought that was really cool. That helps people a lot. I imagine that would help people a lot.
I thought that was kind of funny. I thought that was kind of
definitely funny. I think that's why it worked because. Not only did it help in terms of visualizing the angles, but it was entertaining and it was humorous. And there was a little nasty comment though with that the main guy there said to Porter. I forget how he said it, but I was like, damn, that was a little.
Well, aside from Porter and Guerrero, the rest of the cast of characters wasn't that great. But the last thing I wanted to ask you about, you must have saw. Did you see the Collazo fight?
No.
Oh
no.
Man,
what was that on?
That was the whole undercard was on the other Fox network, FS1 or something like that. But Luis Collazo put on a boxing clinic against Bryant Goodfella Perella. And go back and watch that one. What a fight that was.
My TiVo said drag racing, so it didn't TiVo.
No, well, it was on like FS1.
Yeah, FS1. It said drag racing. I don't know. Maybe I had to do an update.
Maybe it wasn't FS1. Maybe it was another Fox network. But before they had like some UFC on. But in any event,
Joel had. Texted me or Facebooked me or something. He mentioned that Vaughn Alexander got upset on the undercard of the Kovalev fight. So, yeah, I guess main events had a rough night. Is Alvarez with them for the next fight, or how's that going to work? I don't know. If you ask me, Alvarez versus Bivol, that's way too much for Bivol at this time.
But he's a champion. See, I can't stand... Look, and they were saying this about him yesterday. Oh, he's developing nicely. Well, time out. Nowadays, when you're a champion, forget about still developing as a champion. You're supposed to develop as you climb the ladder. Hey, listen, all you got to do is look at Andre Berto, because Andre Berto was the exact example of what I'm talking about. Here's a guy that fought cupcake after cupcake after cupcake, gets a shot at a title, wins, and then he's moved along as a champion, trying to fight other guys so he can develop. And obviously he never got any better than what he did. So the same has to be said for Bivol. If he's that good, he's a title holder now. Now he needs to start fighting all the top contenders. He can't be looking for, I want to get better style fights like against Isaac Chilemba. He needs to fight guys that are, if he's a WBA champ, well, then he needs to fight their contenders. Whether they're good or not, that's not his fault. But he's got to fight those guys. End of story. There's no more, whether he needs to develop or not, you don't say it. You just do it. You know what I mean?
That's right. You do it, and you don't even. It could be unspoken, and you just do it. What you got to do. But once you're a world champion, guess what? You got that belt. Hey, you're in a position. You got to take on all competitive oncomers, and that's your job.
Yeah, I
school's
think,
over.
I think Bivol should take the momentum and try to steal basically from Alvarez. To call Alvarez out, hey, that would be a great thing. I don't think Alvarez would do it because that fight is too risky for him. He's just fought and waited. He's probably going to wait for the WBO to issue him a mandatory and do that first before he fights Bivol. A good fight for Bivol right now is, in my opinion, if he continues fighting, is Kovalev. I think that's a good selling fight, even though Kovalev lost. I would not be surprised if they give Kovalev that fight. I wouldn't be surprised. What do you guys think?
Bill, I could see it. I could see that. You made a very good point. I could see that fight being made, and that would be, definitely Kovalev's all or nothing fight. You either kind of climb back on a horse or you're done.
And it's a money fight for him. And if he wins, he's right back at the top. And everybody will say, "Hey, he got caught." Hey, Alex, we got to let you go, but one last thing. What's your thoughts?
Can I interrupt for 1 second? How about the weirdest moment of the night was, did Jay Leon Love thought he deserved that decision? I think he did.
I think he's been hanging around Floyd Mayweather too long.
I think he thought he won.
Listen, he is another example of a fighter that they tried to build up, and thank God he never was handed a trinket that he could hold on to, because he is nothing except what he showed that night.
I just don't know how you could throw so few punches and imagine, oh yeah, I got this.
Because people are in your ear telling you how great you are all the time. You start to believe it.
Boy.
Hey, Alex, we're going to let you go right now, but before we let you go, who do you think Bivol should fight next?
I think that could be worth something. I think that fighting Kovalev could be interesting. I think against Alvarez, it makes sense, because it would be a unification. I tell you, I rarely follow.
It would. It would be a unification. Yeah, because Alvarez is now Alvarez is the WBO light heavyweight champ.
I rarely pay attention to what alpha belt, because they're all, to me,
anyone that's fighting.
The WBO is, I should take that back, because the WBO is a pretty reputable.
I like the WBO, but it would be a unification because each guy would have a belt.
That would be cool, but I do think, I don't know, I definitely favor Alvarez. To me, he's bigger and stronger. And he can box. He's going to be surging with confidence now. I think he will be one of those, that old adage that a fighter who wins a championship becomes at least 10% better. I think that's going to be true with him because he's waited so long for this. I don't know. I think that's a big hill for Bivol to climb against Alvarez, but sure, I'd love to see it.
Well, remember, Alvarez is no spring chicken. He's in his mid-30s. So, sure. Alex, great job. We'll look forward to you next week, brother.
Guys, take care.
Take care, Alex.
I don't know, Sal. I think that I personally think that Bivol would do well against Kovalev. As far as Alvarez is concerned, I think that he's the real deal too. So we got some interesting things going on in the light heavyweight division.
Heavyweights are alive.
Well, you know what? A lot of people felt that it was the division. There's a lot of young talent, and what I hope happens is that the young talent fights each other and doesn't let the one young guy let them resurrect some old name and beat him. We got stuff cooking where it could happen. But what's cooking now, we talked a little about it before, is a potential showdown between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Deontay Wilder, as everybody knows, is the WBC champ. Everybody wants to see Deontay Wilder fight Anthony Joshua. They could not get the contract done. Everybody blaming each other, pointing fingers, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that I have said is I said that I felt that Anthony Joshua has way more options. He's fighting a mandatory challenger in Alexander Povetkin, which is going to be a very tough fight for Joshua. Povetkin is a knockout artist. Plus, if Anthony Joshua has shown one weakness, it's fighting shorter guys. And I said, well, who the heck is Deontay going to fight? You know, he's got Brazil. There was rumor that he would have a rematch with Ortiz. One of my arguments was, well, he doesn't have value. He can't make the money, blah, blah, blah. And then lo and behold, out of the blue, really, in my opinion, out of the blue, Tyson Fury gets matched with Deontay Wilder. At least allegedly, they're very close to having a deal done, providing Tyson Fury gets by his next opponent, which is August 18th against Francisco Piata. This fight is projected to be on Showtime pay-per-view. This fight would be a money fight for Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, and it would be a big win for Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, Sal, even though I feel that Tyson Fury is not ready for Deontay Wilder. And even though, like we said earlier, we both feel that Deontay Wilder will win this fight, it is a big fight for Deontay and an important fight because it'll show, especially if he wins, that he deserves a bigger cut against Anthony Joshua. And then the demand for an Anthony Joshua-Deontay Wilder fight, providing both Wilder beats Fury and AJ beats Povetkin, man, you can't get a bigger demand than that.
No, and you know, that's interesting because that would definitely validate, you know, Deontay asking for 50% of that gate and the house and everything else, and if he is to beat Tyson Fury, you know, there's an argument that he still deserves it now, but being the champion. But I know we have a difference of opinion on that. I also feel, you know, I'd be curious, Billy C., if we were to look at what would have been the pathway for Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua had they agreed to fight with Deontay Wilder, getting $15 million or so, and then with the rematch, maybe getting 25 or 20. And then let's see, that would have been 2 fights maybe before the end of the year. Let's see how much he's going to get for the Tyson Fury fight and where that's going to put him. Maybe in a leveraged position to fight if Anthony Joshua does what he's supposed to do on his end, that mega fight. And, you know, the millions will keep coming. So it would be interesting to see the progression of the pathway of what would be a hypothetical and what would be the reality.
Well, my first question here would be to Deontay Wilder. Are you sure, like I feel you can, are you sure that you can knock out Tyson Fury? Because if you can't, chances are you're not going to win a decision over Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's kind of slick, and he steals rounds from you. You know, he ties you up. And he would neutralize if Tyson Fury can neutralize Wilder's power and keep him away, or keep him. What I meant is keep him away from him trying to get the distance to get the leverage on his power. Tyson Fury is very comfortable fighting on the inside. He's good with an uppercut. He's good elbowing you and leaning on you and stuff like that. And, you know, should he wear down and squeak out a win over Deontay Wilder, you know, then the value of Wilder actually goes down. Now, I will say this. Deontay Wilder is insisting upon a rematch clause in this contract. So, theoretically, should Tyson Fury squeak by and beat Deontay in a decision in the first fight, we're going to get a second fight. So, it all depends on how much money Wilder's going to be paid for this fight, Sal, because at the end of the day, Deontay Wilder may be making decent money, assuming that he's going to fight Tyson Fury twice. If the worst case happens, he fights him twice, and then it could still lead to a showdown with Anthony Joshua. But it would be important for Wilder to beat Tyson Fury via a knockout, and then I think his value skyrockets in terms of negotiation power with AJ.
I think you are 100% right on, Bill. And like I said, I'm going to put a lot of credence and the credibility in Mark Breland, because I think they've got to look at these Tyson Fury tapes, and they've got to look at his style. They've got to look at how he ties up a fighter, how he puts his body weight on a fighter, how he tries to nullify a fighter's arms and range, and because those are important issues. And if Deontay could capture Tyson Fury at his own game, and whether he does the feinting, whether he does the tying up, whether he keeps the distance, whether he boxes him from the outside, whether he, I think, like I said, and I know we have a difference of opinion, I still say the very best the very best Deontay Wilder is yet to be seen. And I think as his level of competition will arise, I think he will also show the world what he's really capable of. Even though it is that powerhouse, the freakish power he does possess, I think there's a little bit more arsenal and a little bit more of the boxing skill that he can utilize and show. Ring savvy and ring intelligence.
First of all, he does not display any intelligence. He really doesn't, in or out of the ring. But that's a whole other story. But the truth of the matter is what you say is true about Mark Breland. Mark Breland appears to be a fantastic teacher, trainer/teacher, which we need.
Yes, we do.
But we haven't seen anything that Mark Breland has done that Deontay Wilder has listened to since the first Stavern fight. Okay, earlier I gave the 3 best wins for each fighter, and for all 40 of his wins, 39 coming by knockout, I think that I had to stretch hard to find 3 good wins, and I'll tell you that all 3 of these Deontay deserves credit for. His best win, in my opinion, was against Ortiz. I thought that he showed heart. He stayed with a game plan of kill or be killed, and he won. Even despite taking a lot of punches from Ortiz. Okay, stuff that he was not listening to Mark Breland about. Mark Breland was telling him how to avoid the punches, was telling him how to keep his movement and try and keep the distance. He was telling him all those things, and he wasn't listening. He was going out for the knockout. The second best fight, in my opinion, was Artur Spitska. That was another knockout win for Deontay, but he was struggling early in that fight. Spitska was arguably winning on the scorecards when he destroyed him and knocked him out. I thought he killed him. All right? Again, his punching power saves the day. The only fight and his third best win was when he actually won the title in his first fight with Bermane Stiverne. That fight, he showed that he listened to his trainer in Mark Breland, and he fought a cautious, smart fight. Now remember, at that time, Deontay Wilder was still a powerful puncher, but they also thought that Bermane Stiverne was a tough guy. And they also thought that he was a guy worthy of the respect of Deontay Wilder. So they employed a game plan which utilized Deontay Wilder's arm and reach advantage. And not only did Deontay display a really good jab, he displayed movement in that fight, Sal. He was moving. His agility was like an athlete. And I said to myself, if he could build on this from this point forward, this is going to be one hell of a good fighter that can box and put you to sleep. But since that fight, he has not demonstrated that he's willing to do it. That gives me a reason to believe that, despite what I agree with you on about the quality of Mark Breland, Deontay's not listening. And he's 32 years old. We're not going to see a better version of Deontay Wilder all of a sudden. We're going to see the same Deontay Wilder that fought Luis Ortiz and shocked everyone with how good that he displayed his heart, and that he came back from almost being knocked out himself and won the fight. That molded Deontay Wilder into being Deontay Wilder, that version, forever. And he's going to feel the same way against Tyson Fury. Because just like I said earlier, Sal, Tyson Fury has no big wins to be bragging about. He's got one. That's Vladimir Klitschko. The other two big wins of his career, Kevin Johnson and Derek Chisora. They're at least equal to the 2 wins that Deontay Wilder had. So I tell you right now, I'm telling you that Deontay Wilder is going to do what he did against Luis Ortiz. He's going to try to trade with Tyson Fury. Tyson's going to land some punches, but Tyson Fury does not have the punching power that you would think from a 6'9" guy. Deontay Wilder is going to knock out Tyson Fury, Sal.
Yes, I agree with you. And how they're going to arrive at that and what round in the fight is that going to happen? I'll tell you what, we're going to have some good things to talk about before that fight because I think we have a lot of good ideas. And like I said, I think Tyson Fury is not an easy way out for Deontay. He's got to pay attention. That's why he's got to go to school with Mark Breland. And because, like I said, you got a 6'9" body who can stretch himself also like an octopus and lay you on the ropes and then use his weight and try to nullify your punching power by tying up your arms. I mean, I could picture that's where I'm going to see the athleticism out of Deontay Wilder when he gets inside, how to tie up Tyson Fury, spin him around, go to side to side, a little bit of boxing ability utilizing with power. And that's what I can envision because, like I said, Tyson Fury is going to be dangerous for Deontay Wilder. But as we both agree upon, Deontay Wilder's freakish punching power should put Tyson Fury to sleep.
Personally, I think this is a stupid fight for Tyson Fury. If it does happen, Tyson Fury is not ready for Deontay Wilder. Not even Tyson Fury, the version of Tyson Fury that fought Vladimir Klitschko, maybe at 247 pounds when he stepped in the ring against Klitschko, maybe gives Wilder a tough fight. The big difference between a Wilder versus Klitschko. Now, I'm not suggesting that Wilder punches harder than Vladimir Klitschko because Vladimir Klitschko will put you to sleep. There's no question. But the difference is Wilder is, more wild. He'll throw more punches and try to land more, whereas Vladimir Klitschko is very refined and wants to throw and land a punch when he knows 100% it's going to land. And that benefited Tyson Fury. I think Tyson Fury has a suspect chin, and I don't think he possesses enough power to keep Deontay off of him. And if I'm Tyson Fury, of course I want to fight with Deontay Wilder. Of course I want to fight with Anthony Joshua. But I got to give myself a chance in these fights. Fighting Sarifi and now with Piata in August is not getting you ready for a fight against Deontay Wilder. He weighed 276 pounds in his last fight. When he beat Sarifi, 276, and he had gotten down. If you recall, he was 400 pounds, close to 400 pounds. Yeah. So he got down in weight. So for him, that was a big difference. But he's still almost 25 pounds over his prime weight, at least if you want to call it that, when he fought Vladimir Klitschko. So I think it's a stupid fight for Tyson Fury. He could have gotten another one in between. Another, I don't want to say, but Piata type opponent, right? And just get himself back in shape, physically, mentally, and then go for a guy like Wilder. I'm curious to see who's paying for this fight. Tyson Fury was demanding, $50 million to fight Anthony Joshua in England. This particular fight is taking place in Las Vegas. Most likely, they're saying it's going to take place in Las Vegas. There is a chance that it could take place in New York as well. So that means that Deontay Wilder's people would have to be the front promotional company of this. I doubt that Tyson Fury's team would come over and do it, but you never know. But how much money is Tyson Fury going to take for Wilder? I don't know. It doesn't seem like this is the right fight for Tyson Fury right now financially, and I can't see Team Wilder making any kind of offers that are close to $50 million for a Tyson Fury fight. I just don't see it. Anthony Joshua, that's a different story, but Deontay Wilder against Tyson Fury in the U.S. Now, if this fight was taking place in England, maybe they could get more money. But I'm not so sure. Hey, give you a little update real quick before we go, Sal. Daniel Jacobs, they have reached a deal to fight Sergey Deverenchenko for the vacated IBF World Middleweight title, the same title that they stripped Triple G of because he wouldn't fight Deverenchenko. Listen, this is an opportunity for Daniel Jacobs to win back a title and get in the mix to beat or fight, I should say, the winner of Triple G Canelo. I personally think that Daniel Jacobs could very well be the best middleweight out there. So, this opportunity for Daniel Jacobs to fight Deverenchenko, although Deverenchenko is not a big name, and this is one of the reasons why Triple G didn't want to fight him, and Daniel Jacobs might not get a ton of money in this fight, we do know one thing, that he is going to end up with a title should he beat him, and that will give him some bargaining power to get in a ring with another big name, Sal.
Absolutely, and I think that is a good strategy on his camp, and I could see that happening. And I think that Daniel Jacobs is a great fighter. I think he's going to be around for a little while yet, and why not? He's a solid, big middleweight, and I think the division after we see what happens on September 15th, it's going to be a great sharpening of the knife to see who the best and who the top and who the cream of the crop is going to be.
I was going to say, speaking of September 15th, and obviously, in case you guys forgot the date, Sal's referring to Triple G Canelo rematch. Did you catch some of the filming of the promotional video that took place? Apparently, these two guys were brought in. Now, remember, they don't want to even. They literally hate each other. All right,
they don't like each other. And that's good. I could live with that.
I love it. And they didn't want to have a press tour and everything else, but they had to get together and they had to go in the same room for them to film the promotional footage. Now, they did this just basically in a studio with a green screen so that they can add and enhance the ads later on. But the two fighters had to stand basically in front of each other and do some stuff. Now, a couple of observations. Number one, Canelo looked like he was in fantastic shape. Canelo looked like he was, chiseled, ready to go right now.
Right.
Triple G, not so much, man. He had a bit of a gut on him, it was
thick
pretty
skin.
It was pretty, it was thick skin, like I got thick skin hanging over my belt. He didn't look like he was in the greatest shape. And these two guys, when they were looking at each other, you could genuinely see that they don't like each other. To tell you the truth, as much as I got turned off by this fight and the fact that, it didn't take place when it was supposed to, I'm looking forward to it, Sal.
Bill, and the powers that may be that have the strings that pull, reminds me of the old line from The Godfather. I never wanted to be a puppet at some end of the strings. And, look at this. It's going to be a fight that we're going to welcome, that we're going to anticipate. It's a year overdue, or not a year, 6 months past due. And by the time it's said and done, and who knows? Hey, let's see these guys rise to the occasion. You were talking about promotion and commercial. I think a great commercial where these guys could pick up a couple good $1 million on top. Picture this: they're both sitting at two different across the table, eating a hamburger. one from the farms in Mexico, and one a stellar burger place that we have up here, and just eyeing each other, biting into this burger. I think there could be a lot of fun play on that, but that's me.
Well, if you saw the commercial that Mikey Garcia made, well, it wasn't really a commercial. It was like a little skit that him and his own team made. They were kind of goofing Alvarez with the beef. It was funny. You should punch it up. Punch it up. It's it was funny. But anyway, hey, listen, boys and girls. Glad you could be with us today. And all I could say is this: make sure you tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.